Jamal Malik, an 18-year-old Indian Muslim from slum in Mumbai, is a participant on Kaun Ban Ayega Crorepati, the Indian version of the show Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. During his introduction, Jamal reveals that he works as a tea seller in one of the call centers in the city. Despite his humble background, Jamal has managed to correctly guess all the answers of the show up till now. However, during an episode break before the final 20 million rupee question, he is detained and tortured by the police, who suspect him of cheating. A senior police inspector arrives the next day who questions and tortures Jamal with electric shocks in order to find out how he was able to cheat in the game. But Jamal denies any charges of cheating, and in a series of flashbacks, he recalls the events in his life that lead to each answer. The first question in the show is, who was the star of the 1973 film Zanjeer? The answer to which is Amitabh Bachchan. In a flashback, we see Jamal as a 5-year-old along with his brother Salim, creating mischief in the slums. One day, when film star Amitabh Bachchan comes to visit the slum, Jamal gets an autograph by diving into a cesspool. But a jealous Salim later sells the autograph for money. Back in the present, Jamal informs the senior police officer that he knew the answer easily since he had been a fan from the beginning, and that his experience with the autograph had made him a distinctive personality. The second question is, what is written under the national emblem of India? The answer to which was, the truth alone triumphs. But Jamal does not know the answer and uses one of his lifelines to seek the help of the audience to get the correct answer. At the police interrogation, the senior policeman questions Jamal on how he could not answer such a simple question when he was able to answer much more difficult questions. But Jamal replies that there are many simple questions that many people can't answer despite their education and experiences, and that people can only learn if they are given an opportunity. The third question is, what is usually in the right hand of the Hindu god Rama? The answer to which is a bow and arrow. Jamal reveals how he knew the answer in another flashback. One day, communal riots break out in the slum. Jamal's mother is murdered by a mob. He and Salim run for their lives and barely make it out. In the midst of their escape, the brothers suddenly see a young boy dressed as Lord Rama, holding a bow and arrow in his right hand. Jamal remembered the scene and guessed the answer correctly. During the break, before the next question, the show host, Prem Kumar, breaks his friendly demeanor and advises Jamal to quit the game now because he assumes he will not be able to answer any more questions. The fourth question is, which poet wrote the song Dashan Du Ghanshyam? Jamal tells the police officer that he knew the answer to the question from his childhood experience. The brothers are homeless after their mother's death. They come into an orphan girl named Latika in the streets one rainy night. Despite Salim's reservations, she joins the group and is dubbed the Third Musketeer by the brothers. The three are taken in by a local gangster named Mayman, who lures the kids with food and treats, only to turn them into beggars. The kids sing songs and beg at traffic lights. Salim quickly begins to reveal his aggressive and dominating character and becomes a sort of leader amongst the kids. In order to make the kids more effective beggars, a heartless Mayman decides to blind some of them. He reveals his plan to Salim. Mayman and his henchmen pick up the group's best singers and force them to perform the song in question. Jamal became aware of the music as a result. A boy named Aravind goes first. They sedate him and then blind him with hot oil. But when Mayman selects Jamal to be blinded next, Salim decides to save his brother and the two escape. Latika follows them too. The brothers get on a passing train. Latika almost makes it too, but Salim decides to leave her behind. She is recaptured by Mayman's men. The fifth question follows, which is, whose portrait is present on a $100 American bill? No one expects a modest tea seller to know anything about American currency, but Jamal stuns everyone by correctly guessing the answer, Benjamin Franklin. Jamal resumes his story during the interrogation. The brothers had chosen odd jobs on the train after eluding Mayman, including peddling things, thieving, and pickpocketing. The brothers are thrown off from the train near the Taj Mahal in Agra one day while attempting to steal from some passengers. Soon after, the brothers grow up and take on new jobs, posing as foreign tourist tour guides and stealing shoes and sandals. The boys had become familiar with American dollars as a result of their interactions with foreigners. Despite making a fair living, Jamal felt dissatisfied. He hadn't forgotten Latika and yearned to see her again. Eventually, he convinces Salim to go with him to the city of Mumbai in search of Latika. They arrive at Mumbai and begin to look for Latika. While searching, Jamal suddenly sees a blind boy begging and recognizes him to be Aravind, the boy Mayman blinded early in the movie. The two meet and Aravind reveals that Latika is in Pila Street. Seeing his condition breaks Jamal's heart, and in order to help him, Jamal gives him a $100 note. On touching the note, however, Aravind reveals that he knows a bit about currency and tells Jamal that the name of the man whose portrait was on the note was Benjamin Franklin, which is how he knew the answer. In the police interrogation, Jamal reveals that the brothers eventually find out that Latika is in an area called Pila Street. They go to the area and finally find Latika. Jamal and Latika share an emotional reunion, but soon they find out that Latika was being held by Mayman to be sold off. The brothers resolve to save Latika and flee, but just as they're about to escape, Mayman appears. After a brief confrontation, Salim robs Mayman and kills him. The sixth question is, who invented the revolver? Jamal remembers the words Colt inscribed on the revolver that Salim used to carry and correctly guesses the right answer, Samuel Colt. In another flashback, we find the three of them living together again after rescuing Latika. Salim's character also deteriorates and he begins to drink. Salim misbehaves with Latika one day after a night of drinking. Jamal becomes enraged and the two brothers fight. Salim draws his gun and threatens to shoot Jamal, but Latika intervenes to save his life and requests that Jamal to leave. Some years pass and we see Jamal working his current job as a tea seller at a call center. The police officer asks him how he even managed to get on the show in the first place. Jamal reveals that someone known to him from the call center had given him tips on when exactly to call the show to be selected as a candidate. One day at the call center, while serving tea, an employee asked Jamal to man his chair for a few minutes. Once on the computer, Jamal begins to frantically search for phone numbers of Salim and Latika. Soon he manages to find Salim's number. The brothers soon reunite, but Jamal is not happy. They almost get into another fight. When things calm down, Jamal asks Salim about Latika, but he does not give him any information. Suspicious, Jamal follows Salim and finds out that Latika is being held by a gangster named Javed. Salim works for him. Jamal goes to Javed's house and manages to get through the gates by lying to guards. He finally sees Latika again after many years and the two get emotional, but Javed appears just then to interrupt them. At the house, Latika reveals that she is an avid fan of the game show in question, which helps her escape her reality. Jamal asks Latika to leave with him, but she refuses, fearing what Javed would do to the two of them. Jamal leaves, but not before telling her that he would wait for her every day at the Victoria Terminus railway station at 5 p.m. One day, while waiting for Latika, he actually sees her in the station. Overjoyed, Jamal runs to meet her, but before he reaches her, Javed's goons appear who take her away. Heartbroken and helpless, Jamal then decides to find a way into the game show so that he could convey his feelings to Latika, as he knew she would watch every episode. The next question, which is second to last and worth 10 million rupees, approximately $134,000, is which cricketer has scored the most first-class centuries in history? The answer to which was Jack Hobbs. Now we finally see why the host, Prem Kumar, had Jamal arrested on suspicion of cheating. Jamal is clueless about the answer, but the show takes a break before he can answer. During the break, Jamal meets Prem Kumar at the washroom, where Prem Kumar tries to fool him into giving the wrong answer. Prem Kumar lies to him that the correct answer is option B, Ricky Ponting. After the break, the show resumes. The question is again put forth to Jamal, but for some reason he does not trust Prem Kumar. He decides to use his second lifeline of 50-50, whereby 2 false options out of the 4 would be removed. After the lifeline, Jamal is left with 2 options, either option B, Ricky Ponting, or option D, Jack Hobbs. Trusting his gut, he chooses option D, Jack Hobbs, which stuns the host. Jamal's answer is correct, and he wins the prize of 10 million rupees. After seeing Jamal discard his advice and select the correct answer, Prem Kumar is convinced that Jamal is cheating one way or the other. Jamal's answer is correct, and he wins the prize of 10 million rupees. We now realize that the host, Prem Kumar, was trying to make him lose by giving him the wrong answer. There is just one final question worth 20 million rupees, but the show runs out of time for the day. The final question is scheduled to be asked the next following day, but after the show, Prem Kumar has Jamal arrested by the police on suspicion of cheating. We come back to the police station where Jamal is being interrogated. After hearing Jamal's extraordinary narrative, the senior police officer is sure that he is an honest, good-hearted man who just got lucky with the questions he was asked. He lets Jamal go. The next day, Jamal is back at the show to answer the last, final question worth 20 million rupees. His antics on the show have won him a huge following over the country who are eager to witness a poor, lower-class person with a chance to win millions. Everyone is glued to the show for this episode, including Latika and Jamal's brother, Salim. After seeing his brother win and go through such lengths to be with Latika, Salim has a change of heart. He gives Latika his phone and asks her to leave so she can be with Jamal, who loves her dearly. He asks Latika to tell Jamal that he hopes he can forgive him one day. Latika leaves immediately but is caught up in traffic and ends up watching the show on a television near some roadside stalls. At the show, the final question is asked, which is, who is the third musketeer in Alexandre Dumas's novel, The Three Musketeers? Once again, Jamal is stumped. He decides to use his final lifeline, call a friend. He contacts the only number he knows, that of his brother Salim, but he is surprised when it is Latika who picks up the phone. Jamal is relieved to hear her voice again, but unfortunately, she does not know the answer either. The host, Prem Kumar, asks Jamal to quit the game as a wrong answer would mean he would lose almost all of his 10 million rupees that he had already won. But Jamal refuses and once more trusts instincts and guesses option A, Aramis, which happens to be the correct answer. He wins the show and people all over the country celebrate his victory. Elsewhere, Javed finds out that Salim has helped Latika escape. He goes to Salim's house to kill him. Salim is waiting in a bathtub, armed with a gun and surrounded by cash. When Javed bursts through the door, Salim shoots him before being shot down by Javed's men himself. In the final scene, we see Jamal waiting for Latika at a train station again. He soon sees her, and the two finally reunite to live happily ever after. A question is posed to us at the start of the film. How did Jamal win 20 million rupees? Cheating? Luck? Genius? Or the fact that it is written? Fate? We know from the movie now that the answer is fate. It is written.